Okay, so today we're looking at lesson 7. We're going to round multi-digit numbers to the thousands place using the vertical number line. So you can see I've gone through and already put some of my numbers into my number line, and we'll go through and walk you through where these numbers come from. So first up here, we're going to round to the nearest thousand. We're going to use the number line to model our thinking. So we're going to first start off here with 6,700. Now, if we look at the thousands place, and we see that we have 6 thousands, which is why I started with 6,000 on my bottom, and I put 7,000 on the top of the number line. Now we know that half of 1,000 is 500, so 6,500 is going to be our midpoint. So now we go to place in our number, and we look at the one spot to the right. So now we have 6,700, which we know is more than 6,500. So we can put our number here. So because our 7 is greater than our 5 in the hundreds place, that tells us that we need to round up to 7,000. Okay. Same thing with letter B here. 9,340. So we see that we have 9,000s. So that's where we need to start our number line. And then 9,000 plus 1,000 more gets us to 10,000, with 9,500 being in our middle. So we look at our hundreds place and we see that we have a 3. Now 3 is less than 5, so that means our 9,340 is about down there. Right? And since we're below our midpoint, that means we're going to round down to 9,000. Now, moving on to letter C, this gets a little bit different because we're going to have numbers off in our 10,000s place. Okay, but the process is still going to be the same. So if we look at letter C, our number is 16,401. Well, we have a 6 in the thousands place, but we have a total of 16 thousands. So that's why my number line here is starting at 16,000, and 16 plus 1 gets us 17 thousands. Okay, so now still follow the same process though. Go one spot to the right, and we've got a hundreds place. We see that we have a 4. Now 4 is less than 5, so 16,401 goes here. And since we're below that midpoint, we know we need to round down to 16,000. Okay. Letter D, same thing. We have 39 thousands, which is where we start our number line. Plus one more 1,000 gets us to 40,000. Okay. So now, this is where it gets a little bit different though, because we see that we have a 5 in the hundreds place, which is at our midpoint here. But this is 545, which is more than 500. So our number here is going to be a little bit above this midpoint because 545 is more than 500. And now because we're past that midpoint, we know that we're going to round up to 40,000. Moving on to our bottom row here. Okay, it gets a little bit different because now we go over to the 100,000s place. Okay, so here we have 399 thousands. That's where we're starting here. 399 thousands plus one more 1,000 gets us to 400 thousands. Okay. Go one spot to the right and look at our hundreds place. We see that we have a 4. 4 is less than 5. So our number is below our midpoint. It's actually only 1 below, but it's still below, which means we round down to 399,000. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky because you see all these 9s, but it's that 4 that's telling us to round down in the thousands. Okay, moving on to letter F here, we have 840,007. Okay, so we have 840 thousands. One more gets us 841 thousands. Now, again, go one spot to the right. We have a 0 in the hundreds place, which is definitely less than 5. So this time we're going to round down to 840,000 because of that 0 in the hundreds place. So if we're rounding to the nearest 1,000, we need to make sure we're looking at one spot over in the hundredths place. Okay, so let's take a look at some word problems that connect to this. Okay, so number 2, a pilot wanted to know about how many kilometers or kilometers he flew on his last 3 flights. Okay. Keyword here is about, so we don't need an exact number, we need an estimate or a rounded number. Okay. And we have 3 flights. Now, from New York City to London, he flew 5,572 kilometers. Okay, well then from London to Beijing, he flew 8,147 kilometers. And then finally his third flight, he flew 10,996 kilometers from Beijing back to New York City. So what we need to do is we need to round each number to the nearest thousand. This is important for us to underline so we know what place to look at. Then we're going to find the sum of the rounded numbers to estimate about how many kilometers the pilot flew. And you know, sum means add. Okay, so a couple parts to this. Okay, so our first flight, we have 5,572. Second one, we have 8,147. And we're doing that little squiggly equal sign because we just need an estimate. Okay, so now our first number here, we have 5 thousandths. We look one spot to the right and we see a 5. Okay, so 5 or more raises the score, so we need to round that up to 6,000. Okay, our second one here, we have 8 thousandths. We look at our hundredths place, we see a 1. 5 or less, let it rest, so we leave 8 thousandths. Okay, now, here we have 10 thousandths. One spot over to the right, we see a 9, which means our 10 thousandths must become 11 thousandths. Okay, so that's the first part. Now we need to add these numbers up. Okay, 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 1 is 15, so 1 plus 1 is 2. So we have 25,000. So the pilot flew about 25,000 kilometers. Okay. Moving on to number 3, Mrs. Smith's class is learning about healthy eating habits. The students learn that the average child should consume about 12,000 calories each week. All right, so that's our target. Now, Carrie consumed 12,748 calories last week, and Tyler consumed 11,702 calories last week. We need to round those to the nearest thousand to find who consumed closer to the recommended number. Okay. Now, I've already gone ahead and set up 2 number lines for us to do this. Okay. Now, our target is 12,000, but we can tell Carrie went over, Tyler was under. Okay. But we need to know who is closer to that 12,000 number. So let's take a look at Carrie first. Okay, well, Carrie has 12,700. So if we come over to Carrie's number line, we see that we have a 7 in the hundredths place, which is more than the 5 in the hundredths place for our midpoint. So Carrie's number is right here. Okay, now we look at Tyler, and Tyler consumed 11,702. So we look at that 7 in the hundredths place, which is more than the 5 here. So Tyler's number would go here. All right, now we look at the numbers. Carrie obviously is going to round up because he's past the midpoint. Tyler is also going to round up. Okay. Now if we look at what they both round to, we can see that Tyler, his number actually rounds to 12,000, whereas Carrie's rounds to 13,000. So that means Tyler actually has the closer number to 12,000. He's only about 300 away, whereas Carrie is over 700 away. So Tyler ate closer to recommended number of calories when rounding to the nearest thousand Tyler's calories round to 12,000 and carries round to 13,000. Okay. So that means Tyler's closer. Okay, our final one here, number 4. For the 2013-2014 school year, the cost of tuition at Cornell University was $43,000 when rounded to the nearest thousand. Okay, this one's a little bit different because they're giving us the rounded number. What is the greatest possible amount the tuition could be? And what is the least possible amount the tuition could be? Now, my number line here is slightly different, okay, because 43,000 is going to be in the middle, okay, because whatever our numbers are, they get rounded to this number, okay. So, what we have to take a look at is if we focus on the amount above 43,000, okay, well, half of 1,000 is 500, so between these 2 points is 43,500. And now we know that this amount right here would actually round up to 44,000. So I need the number that's actually just below right there, which would be 43,499, okay? Because one more would bounce us up to 44,000. So this is the greatest tuition cost there could be that would still round down to 43,000. And now we need the least possible. So now we look at the part of the number line below 43,000. So we know the midpoint here would be 42,500. And we know that this amount right here, being our midpoint, would round up to 43,000. So this is the lowest we could go while still rounding to 43,000. So all the numbers in this range round to 43,000. You can see we're right at the midpoint here, but above we have to be just a little bit below. And so the greatest possible tuition is $43,499. The least possible tuition amount is 42,500. Okay, all because of that hundreds